I cannot do any introductions on that. You saw the title. I was devouring everything about this collection for the whole day. So straight to the point. Glenn Martens basically feels like he was made for Maison Margiela. Coming from Belgium, little Martin Margiela's cousin, and trade in Antwerp, he's got that very deep conceptual fashion brain. He doesn't just make clothes, he makes ideas you can wear. At White Project, where he was working before, he was already playing with exactly the kind of things Margiela loves. Deconstruction, oversized silhouettes, unexpected layering, texture, and it feels chaotic but intentional. High fashion suddenly felt alive, playful, a bit rebellious, and everybody ate it. I think everyone knows some pieces from White Project. Let it be these very crinkly long denim boots, or Melissa and White Project collaboration. Then Diesel came along in 2020, I believe, and Martens flipped it upside down. He reimagined denim and Diesel became iconic again. He's also cranked recycled materials from 3% to something crazy 57. Yes, 57, and introduced textures and cuts that made you see Diesel in a completely new way. Do you remember these bags? They were popping everywhere. What's crucial here is that Margiela has always been about experimentation within wearability, and Martens does that very naturally. I saw somewhere he was described as subversive but accessible, and he has openly said that joining Margiela is like stepping into a house that's always inspired him. No surprise. Not only you, Glenn, not only you. And he wants to honor its founding values while adding his own modern spin, focusing on authenticity, craftsmanship, and designs that made you think, not just look. Basically, he's just blending new, raw, intellectual DNA of Margiela with a street smart, contemporary vibe. His debut collection showed this perfectly. Strong silhouettes, very intricate details, comments that feel like art, even if you don't like them. You don't need to like the stuff you see to find value in that. That's completely different discussion. I stop on that. Anyways, in short, he's perfect bridge between Margiela's legendary conceptual roots and the now. And honestly, I'm so here for it. Now, the show kicked off, I'm talking Pret-a-Porter 26, in the very weird way we have come to love from Maison Margiela. Children's orchestra played slightly out of tune, creating, I don't know, immediate, eerie, slightly magic, but like in a dark sense vibe. At first you think, what? But then it clicks that it's actually full-on nod to the legendary 1989 Margiela show where kids actually walked the runway. Now, rewind 30 years back. Picture Paris in the late 80s, 89 as I said. Oh, the year I was born. The fashion scene was all glitz and glamour and polished perfection with, you know, all these superstar models. And Margiela turned everything on its head. It was held in a rundown playground, the outskirts of Paris. And the kids weren't some famous kids from the magazines. They were local kids, many from underprivileged neighborhoods. And at that time, critics were very divided. Some were confused, intrigued maybe. And looking back, it's clear that the show was game changer. Margiela blurred the line between fashion, art, and actual life. Proving that runway can be messy, inclusive, and emotional without losing its meaning. At least in the beginning, he also had very flat hierarchy in the shows where first come, first serve. There's no, you know, a seat with your name on. Fast forward to Spring Summer 26, Glenn Martens brings that spirit back, but instead of kids on a runway, it's a children's orchestra playing off-key, which makes it even darker. Slightly chaotic, unsettling sounds immediately puts you on edge, but in the best way. It signals that what you are about to see isn't just clothes, it's the whole picture of ideas, stories, and emotion that is woven into the fabric. The audience is pulled into this conceptual world where fashion becomes more than just a show, it's experience. Okay, let's address elephant on the runway. This is where Maison Margiela show gets a bit spooky. Martin Margiela made himself practically invisible. No interviews, no public appearances, not even a bow after the show. He basically said, forget me, look at what we are doing, because he's always made it very clear that it's the effort of the whole team, the whole workshop. And the models often wear faceless, masked, sometimes even mannequins. The whole idea was very radical. Let the garment do the talking. Forget celebrity, stare and admire the craftsmanship. And honestly, it's kind of eerie seeing these models walking down the runway like ghosts, faces hidden, distorted, masked. Fast forward to spring/summer 26, and Glenn Martens leans into this legacy, but with his own twist. The show opens with black leather pieces, instantly setting tone that is very intense. And black and white have always been core to Margiela's visual language. These colors aren't just stylish, they are functional tools of anonymity. Black conceals, white abstracts. Together they depersonalize the wearer, stripping away identity so that all attention falls on the construction, texture, silhouette of the garment itself. Margiela used this color coding deliberately. It creates a sort of blank canvas where the audience isn't distracted by their personality or celebrity or supermodel. And Martens clearly understands this, using black leather at the opening to anchor the show in that iconic Margiela mood. The models in spring/summer 26 also wear mouthpieces, not covering but distorting their faces. You can see the human beneath, but only just. It's so uncanny. I'm living for that. This modern take on Margiela's masks emphasizes that fashion doesn't need personality to be powerful, doesn't need celebrities to be powerful. The clothes themselves are the storytellers. Galliano, by contrast, thrived on turning models into actors, fully performing characters, dramatic, eye-catching, sometimes at the expense of the garment. Margiela's anonymity was revolutionary in a self-absorbed, celebrity-obsessed fashion world. This is neglected side of Maison Margiela. Let's talk denim. The OG playground for Martens Margiela experimentation. Denim is tough, practical, and very recognizable, which makes it perfect for messing with expectations. And Glenn Martens picks up the same pattern, and it's everywhere. Layered, cut up, but here's the clever part. It feels modern, very wearable, and playful while still nodding to experimentational roots. Margiela loved the idea that ordinary materials tell very extraordinary stories. Martens does too, but he also adds contemporary urgency. The frayed edges and the symmetry aren't just about shock or style. They're about the thinking material, questioning consumption, and giving classical, usual materials contemporary punch. I don't know where it was written, but it said Martens deconstructed denim speaks both to Margiela's past and the urgent contemporary dialogue on sustainability and materiality. You can literally see the lineage. Margiela broke denim apart to challenge fashion norms. Martens breaks it apart to make a statement about today's world while still looking sharp. Okay, let's talk about one of the quirkiest but most brilliant. Margiela's signature, which is not tabby boot, it's tape. But not just any tape. Think clear, almost invisible tape that somehow makes clothes look like something between a trash bag and a perfect sculpture, ruins the perfection in the most perfect way possible. Martin Margiela loved this trick. In the 90s, he would take a seemingly flawless garment like a denim jeans or a pristine dress and add strips of tape, either to hold it together or mimic stitches or just hint that the garment is almost breakable. And the result is something that looks beautiful, wearable, with the tiny oops moment where you realize the perfection is broken. Maybe I was expecting to see the topless shoe, because in my head it was the easiest idea to deploy, but no, not now. I think Glenn Martens wouldn't want to play with such a cheap, very predictable ideas. Now, one of my favorite parts and very interesting one from the commercial point of view, and this is accessories, or in Margiela's world, lack of them. Unlike most fashion houses, Margiela has never been obsessed with bags, shoes, blingy extras that actually sells the most. Martin Margiela didn't want his designs to be sold by accessories. The clothes themselves are the statement and everything else is secondary. Tabby boots, yes, they became iconic, but Margiela's idea was never to flood the runway with purses, belts, ads-on. He kept it minimal, almost sterile, less distraction, more focus on craft, silhouette, and concept. That's a huge contrast to John Galliano at Margiela. Galliano broadened the theatricality, turning shows into full-on narratives with models as characters, actors, dancers, and yes, the accessories were everywhere. Bags, especially bags, glam slam, snatched, love them both, and all the kinds of tabby variations, love them all. They're not just functional, but big money makers. And yeah, that's a reason for that. Accessories are some of the highest margin items in fashion. According to Vogue Business and Industry stats, bags alone can account for 40 to 50% of brands' revenue. Galliano leaned into that because fashion had become about sales and not just experimentation. And Martens Spring Summer 26 though, he's bringing Martin Margiela's less is more in this department ethos bag. Almost no bags, very few traditional accessories. The runway feels clean and focused on garments. This is where your attention goes. The layering, deconstruction, tailoring, it reasserts the house conceptual roots, but it also kind of critiques the commercial pressures of a fashion house, for modern fashion in general. It's refreshing to see a designer resist the industry's usual profit-driven accessory frenzy and instead highlight craft, texture, and silhouette. You know, I'm not very big in business on fashion in the sense of it being a business that makes sales, that is motivated by money and revenue. And I am really interested how this collection can be profitable. I think Glenn Martens really respects Margiela's DNA, but I think he also understands that in today's world we are really bombarded with this visual clutter, and maybe stripping down the accessories is a strategy. You notice the clothes, play with the fabric, nothing really distracts, and the few details he does add, like the jewelry here and there, it's not turning model into a prop. Now, this is where this collection really sticks in your brain. The imagery of flowers and blood. From far away, one of the floral dresses looks like it's splattered with blood, and in the finale, a red corsage-like dress that feels like a bandage soaked in blood. First, it's shocking, but that's exactly the point. Margiela himself never shied away from disturbing, thought-provoking visuals, but unlike Galliano melodrama, his theatricality was subtle. He wanted you to think, not just to gasp in surprise and shock. And Glenn Martens carries this forward, reminding that fashion can be eerie and emotional. Martin Margiela himself rarely used overt image of blood, but his shows were never neutral. They played with disruption, imperfection. Glenn Martin's use of blood, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but to me it was. It feels like a conceptual extension. It's a symbolic, a nod to vulnerability, transformation, and it just feels ritualistic in a way. Here I have to make comparisons with Alexander McQueen. He used blood or very shocking visuals, but I think he is the huge difference, because McQueen's blood was very theatrical. It was violent in a way, and it had to provoke a physical reaction. In this case, the blood florals doesn't scream violence. They more of like whispering unease. This approach also ties back to Margiela's identity as a house for underdogs. As I already mentioned at least 99 times, his shows were never about celebrity. They were about the garments, and Martens hopefully continues that legacy. And in this case, shocking value and blood doesn't dominate the show. From a historical perspective, this is perfect for a debut collection, because Martin isn't trying to outdo what Galliano did. He's playing more with a honesty and the power of ideas. I know this is a very bold statement. I just don't like Galliano for this house. I never liked it. I thought he was incredible for Dior, and maybe for some it's disappointing that Glenn Martens isn't following the footsteps of Galliano. He's taking completely different path, and that's the whole point. Glenn Martens' way of doing that is very intellectual. He's not chewing the ideas for you. You have to do it yourself. Let's be real. Glenn Martens isn't a household name like Galliano or McQueen. He doesn't have the instant celebrity pull. He might not create viral Instagram moments. Maybe that's the beauty of that, because Maison Margiela was always underdog. Martin's debut is a masterclass in restraint, because I think you want to show it all as a creator, and I think he just managed it perfectly. It had the very perfect balance of the archival DNA and his own signature, because the world is full of flashy drama. Rare to see somebody making fashion that makes you pause, to makes you think and feel, and this is what Margiela always intended.